So leading inquiry sounds nice, doesn't it? Who would take a stand about leading inquiry in an educational context? The problem here is it can kind of just feel as a nice way to talk about kind of doing things together and asking beautiful questions. And I think in some ways, it loses its hard edge. From my perspective, the reason why leaders need to lead inquiry is that they're trying to solve complex human problems in local contexts. And you have to lead inquiry because you cannot know the answer to these problems at the beginning of that improvement journey. And so it's really important to kind of separate out when might I need to lead inquiry and when can I just know the solution and implement with fidelity. There's some things that are just simple questions, simple problems. And there we should use technical know-how to work out the answer and to deliver it into our school. But there's other things that are complex problems. They're human problems, they're adaptive problems. And acknowledging those, we say we're trying to solve those problems. And by the way, improving literacy and numeracy are complex adaptive problems. Improving attendance are complex adaptive problems. Building staff capacity and culture are complex adaptive problems. Engaging with community and shifting what parents and caregivers do at home, complex adaptive problems. So we want to say the majority of the things you're actually working on fit into the complex category. And by nature, complex problems, you cannot know everything you need to solve them at the beginning of the work. So you've got to lead inquiry. And so inquiry for me is about leading collective learning. You could see this as you're trying to pull together your team to first inquire about the nature of the problems to be solved. And this is crucial. Otherwise you can have what I call inquiry theatre, where basically everyone's just doing linear planning and implementation. No one's actually stepping into the ambiguity and the uncertainty. And they're kind of using the language of inquiry to sit on top. But real inquiry says, we're not really sure yet about the root causes of the problems we're trying to understand here. We're not yet sure about what's driving these things. And so first we have to inquire into the nature of the problem we're trying to solve. This is about getting insights from the field. This is about not asking teachers at this stage and students, what should the solution be, but what's the problem? What's the underlying problem to be solved? I think Viviane Robinson's done us a great service here, where she says, don't design the future until you've understood the present. And her work on collaborative causal inquiry, what's really going on within this complex system. So if you want to lead inquiry, firstly, you've got to actually want to lead on complex problems. And I think the first part is inquiring about the nature of the problem to be solved. And then the second part is to try to inquire into a solution that will work in your context. The first part of inquiring to a solution is to ask what are the best bets that we already know from research and effective practice elsewhere in New South Wales that could be useful for solving this problem. Inquiry doesn't mean starting with a blank page. Inquiry is about disciplined inquiry that's based on the best bets from the evidence, but acknowledges that the evidence suggests what's worked in the past in other places, but not what will work in your context for solving this problem. And so you inquire by taking the best available evidence that has got a high likelihood of solving the problem you've identified, and then working through cycles of disciplined inquiry, which is about experimenting, gathering early formative impact evidence about how it's going, and then making adjustments as you go. And so the art of leading inquiry is to be okay leading a process that you don't yet have the answer to. It's about having a high ambiguity tolerance, whereby you can lead the team and say, yeah, we're 3 months into this and we've realized we're actually attacking the wrong problem. We need to go back and rework that. And you need to be okay with making mistakes. Not what I would call blameworthy errors or failures, where just a bit of sharper thinking and analysis of the research could have helped you, but praiseworthy failures, where you went in, you tested something, you trialed it, you got some early evidence, and it really isn't having an impact yet in your context. And being able to look your team in the face and say, we have made progress, not on solving the end problem, not on actually getting the impact, but we've made progress in our understanding of what we're trying to do, and we've made progress in understanding what probably won't work in our unique context. And that for me is leading inquiry. It's got to be disciplined, it's got to be based on the best available evidence, and it needs to be forming evidence within your context, collecting and generating evidence within your context. about whether or not the change you're making is actually leading to your intended improvement. And that's what leading inquiry is all about.